Former President Goodluck Jonathan says there are now new threats endangering our democracy and the 2023 election. We'll find out what these new threats are. And INEC today published details and names of eligible candidates for the 2023 elections. We'll talk more about what is at stake ahead of this very crucial election. Hello everyone, welcome to the program. This is Politics Today live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimbale in Abuja. We continue our countdown on the strike action by university lecturers, which UNGA has declared indefinite strike since February this year. But today it's 220 days since the university lecturers in the federal universities across the country began the strike action, keeping students away from the classrooms. The standoff between the federal government and the stalemate with the university lecturers continue, and the students continue to be idle. Many Nigerians and the stakeholders are getting worried and are hoping that these stakeholders will get their acts together to resolve what has become a national embarrassment. But it looks like the leadership of the House of Representatives has intervened in the ASU federal government impasse and have met with leadership of ASU and that of and the Ministry of Education behind closed doors. Before going into the closed-door meeting, the ASU president informed the lawmakers that there has been no formal meeting with the Minister of Education over the strike. He also reacts to the court suit and questions what manner of teaching could be expected from lecturers if they are compelled to return to the class by the court. So much to talk about. President Muhammadu Buhari is not in the country. He's in New York, and his vice went to the United Kingdom. We will chair the FEC meeting tomorrow. What is the president doing in New York? What are the benefits and the gains for Nigeria? We'll find out tonight on the program. Plus, the conversation. What are the new threats to Nigeria's democracy and the 2023 elections? We'll be finding out from the major political parties and their spokesperson on the program tonight. Plus, the list INEC released today, giving us an understanding of those who are eligible to contest for the 2023 elections. Stay with me, everyone. It's packed full. Don't blink. You may see if you do. We'll serve you now with the political roundup stories, everyone.
The Federal High Court, Abuja, has fixed October 4 for hearing of a suit challenging the decision of INEC to end the continuous voters registration exercise on the 31st of July. The presiding judge, Justice UNGA, fixed the date after 4 Nigerians filed a suit seeking to be joined as party in the case. They had sought an injunction compelling INEC to extend the CVR exercise to November 27, which they argued is the end of the 90 days period for registration of voters before the 2023 general election. They also argued that the stoppage of the exercise of the electoral body on the 31st of July, more than 6 months to general elections, would disenfranchise millions of eligible and potential voters. Justice Inyang adjourned to October 4, 2022 to hear the consolidated matter.
INEC lawyer asked the court to give us a fresh day so that both matters can be taken together so that the court can give a consolidated judgment.
The All Progressives Congress in Rivers State has intensified its call for a judge of the Federal High Court in Port Harcourt to recuse himself from presiding over a matter filed by the ruling People's Democratic Party in the state, challenging its National Assembly primaries. The PDP in the suit filed in July is arguing that the primary election exercise conducted by the APC was not monitored by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, which is against the provision of the Electoral Acts. The APC candidates have since the commencement of the matter asked the presiding judge, Justice Stephen Dale Opam, to recuse himself on the allegation of bias.
I said I do not have confidence in any pronouncement that the court would make.
Our Federal High Court sitting in Jalingo, Taraba State, has sacked the state governorship candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Senator Emmanuel Boacha. Relying on evidence before the court that no governorship primary election was held in the state, Justice Simon Amobeda ordered for fresh primary elections within 14 days. The judge ordered INEC to stop forthwith the recognition of Senator Emmanuel Boacha as candidate of the party, and he in turn should desist from parading himself as candidate of the party. He argued that it is not possible for all the election results to have same handwriting, while the returning officer declared that no primary election was held in the state at the police headquarters due to security threats. Reacting to the judgment, counsels to the APC and the sacked candidate insist they will study the judgment before either proceeding to the appeal court or submitting to fresh primary election. For Benue State Governor Mr. Samuel Otom says the failure of the opposition People's Democratic Party leadership to take more proactive steps to address the internal crisis continues to pose a threat to the party and may cost the party the entire elections in 2023. Mr. Otom stated this during an expanded caucus meeting of the Benue State chapter of the PDP at the Government House Makodi, is particularly dissatisfied with the party leadership's handling of the post-convention crisis.
The leadership of the party was not able to deploy its internal conflict resolution management skills to solve the problems that arose.
And the governorship candidate for the All Progressives Congress in Cross River State, Senator Prince Basiotu, has promised to transform the state to make more impact in the lives of the citizens if given the opportunity. Mr. Otu made the promise in Calabar while addressing members of the Nigeria Union of Journalists, where he charged them on the need to display high level of professionalism in their reportage.
And deploy all our resources, both at home and abroad, to create wealth to our people and also distribute this transparently. Make sure each and every one, and even this constituency, has a sense of belonging.
Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. President Muhammadu Buhari is in New York, where he's attending the annual meeting of world leaders, the United Nations, at the United Nations General Assembly, UNGA 77. The theme for the 77th session, which opened today, is titled, quote, "A Watershed Moment, Transformative Solutions to Interlocking Challenges." And the key topics of the discussion at the UNGA this year include the war in Ukraine, the energy crisis, climate action, ending the COVID-19 pandemic, and a special Transforming Education Summit. President Buhari will take his turn to deliver the national statement on the second day of the general debates tomorrow. Beside his statement, the president will also participate in high-level meetings. Let's get some details on the president's itinerary and gains from that the planned meetings for Nigerians. I'm being joined from New York by the president's media advisor, Mr. Femi Adesina. He joins us virtually. Thank you so much, Mr. Adesina, for joining us tonight on the program. Give us a sense of perhaps some of the most significant lined up events for the president, and perhaps the gains. What are the significance of those meetings to Nigeria?
Thank you. Good evening. Well, the most significant is the national statement that the president will read tomorrow, that would let the world know what the situation is in Nigeria, particularly things of global implications. And of course, that speech will also look at other global issues as they affect Nigeria. So that is what we can look forward to in the president's statement that will come tomorrow morning by the grace of God. And then apart from that, there are other side meetings, numerous. Within the UN structure itself, you have meetings like AUDA, NEPAD, and EFCC collaborating on illicit flows, and our president will be there. You have something coming up by the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs. Our president will be there. And then on Thursday, you have a program being organized by Nigeria for investment, to attract investment into the country. The president will also be there. And beside all those major events, there are then bilateral meetings. As of yesterday, when we had the planning meeting, a lot of countries, groups, organizations, group CEOs have indicated interest to meet with the Nigerian president. I tell you, accommodating all the interests that have been indicated is even an issue. So the president is going to have a full time at this 77th edition of the United Nations General Assembly.
Great. There are specific needs of Nigerians, electricity, fixing security, the economic crunch, and a few other issues that are very germane. Give us an idea of what President Buhari will be focusing on in that his national speech tomorrow.
No. You know, you don't second guess a president's national speech. It is something that he will be reading on behalf of Nigeria. Yes, I have an idea of what's in the speech, but then it is not prudent to begin to talk about it until he has read it. After he has read it, we can review it. But then it is not done that you begin to then unveil a president's statement before he makes it.
One will assume that back home here, maybe the vice president will be back from, I'm not sure if he's back or if he's back already, but then it's natural indeed for the vice president to chair the FEC meeting tomorrow. Is that the case?
Well, it's not likely. Whenever the president is not around, the vice president goes ahead to chair the Federal Executive Council meeting. So it's not unlikely. But we left home on Sunday, so I can't be categorical. But that is what usually happens. When the president is not around, the vice president chairs the council meeting.
It's interesting that the president of South Africa had to, there are reports that he left the UNGA meeting and had to go home because of the power electricity crisis back in his country. The flip is the case in Nigeria because electricity problem has come to stay with us over 20 or more years. In fact, almost 40 years now, there's been cry about electricity, although the government under President Buhari has said it's going to be fixed. At some point, and at that United Nations conference in the past, the president has taken up that issue of electricity and how Nigeria is hoping to fix it. If we may take this opportunity to ask, this electricity problem, the issue of Siemens, or is it Siemens or Schneider now? I can't remember vividly, the German company. What is the state of things? Can you bring it up to speed? Will electricity also be a matter to be discussed at any of those meetings?
Yes, in the general themes of UNGA, energy crisis, particularly as precipitated by the Russian-Ukraine war, is something to discuss. But you know that at the microcosm level, as it affects Nigeria, that is also something that may come up in the different bilateral meetings our president will hold. We have an agreement with Siemens, which is making progress now. You know that it was slow at a point, but in the past couple of weeks, we saw different kinds of transformers and electricity equipment coming into the country. And I can assure you that there is progress on that relationship we struck with Siemens. President Buhari is determined that before he leaves in maybe another 8 months, there will be significant progress in delivering electricity and power to Nigerians. And whatever it takes to do it, he will do.
Can you give us an understanding, because before he leaves office is between now and May next year. Can we get some more specific? I mean, how much of progress are we expected to see in that regard if the promise on fixing the electricity problem is a major target for this government? What are we expecting? How many megawatts is the target of this government? When perhaps should we be seeing? Because it does look like a lot of talk, a lot of meetings, a lot of money, a lot of engagement, but no movement that have been seen in the past few weeks or months since some of these agreements have been made. Can you be more specific? Some good news that you can give to Nigerians, perhaps one of those who may not, who are running generator to watch this program right now.
Well, that would not be quite fair to me, because there is a minister of power you should have directed that question to. It's the minister of power that will give you the brass tacks, all the details that Nigerians will need. But when you said there has been no movement, that is not quite true. I told you just now that some transformers and electricity equipment came into the country recently under the Siemens deal. So that does not tantamount to saying that there is no movement. There is some movement, and that movement will eventually translate to better power for the country.
Well, as far as Nigerians are concerned, those I know in the villa there is uninterrupted power supply, but movement as far as Nigerians are concerned is when they find power, when they want power and they get it. When they go to their offices and the industries in Nigeria are able to power without having to spend the hard-earned money on diesel that is now the price has been up. That is perhaps going to be the movement as far as Nigerians are concerned. This is not the first time we are hearing deals on power issue. And that was why I said, if you can be specific, and I'm speaking to the mouthpiece of the president, and he's the leader of the country. And so when I speak with you, I imagine that we're speaking by proxy to President Muhammadu Buhari.
Nobody will deny that Nigeria has a power problem, particularly with electricity. And it has been there. Successive administrations have battled that problem, and they have not succeeded. So we cannot begin to pretend that we don't have that issue. That issue is there. It is well and alive. But will this administration make some progress on that issue before it exits? It sure will. That was why the Siemens deal came into being in the first place. There was some stalling of that Siemens deal, but that has since been cleared, and there is some movement. Already in some parts of the country, people will tell you that even now, they are experiencing better electricity supply. And it can only get better. We don't have to sit on the complaint counter or become skeptical and cynical and believe that it will not work. It will work.
Let me, the final question before I allow you to enjoy the very beautiful weather there in New York. I understand it is right now. Mr. Adeshina, I remember when my father traveled when we were younger, we always, the first question is, when are you returning? When are you coming back? With the hopes that there will be good tidings. There will be something he brings back from the trip. For Nigerians, what should Nigerians be expecting for President Buhari, for those his supporters who say Baba when he is returning to the country? What in specific would be a very significant gift or good message to bring back home?
Yeah, the mistake we often make is to think that a multilateral outing like this is a trading affair. No, it is not a trading affair. It is not as if we have gone to the market, we took goods worth 10 million, so we made 12 million or 15 million, and then we are going back home to say, this is the gain we have made. A multilateral outing like the United Nations General Assembly is not for that purpose. It is not for that purpose.
But I mean, Mr. Adeshina, I beg to disagree. There are a lot of officials on the entourage of the president. Nigerians are spending a lot of money to send those delegates there. And it's not for a joke. It's not for sightseeing. Nigerians are hoping that those bilateral meetings will bring good tidings for the good people of Nigeria. If it's not going to bring any benefit to Nigerians, then it's going to be a waste. I mean, so that's the reason why I'm asking the question, what will be the significant gain for Nigerians for those people, the long list of the people who are on that trip.
How I wish you didn't jump the gun. You allowed me to anchor my point. You didn't let me make my point. I was building up to that point, but you dived in, and then everything is like being truncated. The point I was heading to was that this is a multilateral meeting. It is not for buying and selling. 2, there are side meetings and there are bilateral meetings. That is where you hope to get and make some mileage for the country. As we speak now, there are 2 bilateral meetings that will kick off in another 30 minutes between our president and the president of 2 other countries and organizations. Tomorrow, there are going to be 4 bilateral meetings. And then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, till we leave here, there are bilateral meetings already lined up. That is where you hope to make those kind of gains you are talking about. But that is why it's called sidelines of the UN General Assembly. The main purpose for coming here is to be part of the global debates on germane issues like climate change, Russia-Ukraine war, post-COVID economy, and all that. Those are the main issues. That is the purpose.
Yeah, I mean, I was making reference. Okay, yeah, good. So I was making reference to those bilateral meetings and the sideline meetings. We understand what those debates are all about and the essence of the United Nations and some of these conversations. It is those bilateral meetings and perhaps the reasons why the president had to take some of those whom he had taken with him to advise him and to seek their counsel in some of those side meetings. And that's why I was asking, what is the significant gain that we could be looking forward to? What are the major expectations?
Those meetings are not even held. So how can you then be talking of the gains of meetings?
And their plans. Are there not plans? I guess there were plans for these meetings. That are hopefully, if we had this meeting, this is what we're expecting.
You don't begin to count the outcomes from those meetings until the meetings are held. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Those meetings are lined up.
All right.
2 today, 4 tomorrow, like that up till Saturday. At the end of it all, if you now ask me what were the gains from those meetings, then we can talk about it. Not talk about gains of meetings that are not held.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Adesina. We will have to speak with you after those meetings. But look, I'm talking in this perspective. When someone sponsors your trip, the person wants to know what the gains and the benefits of. Nigerians are sponsoring this trip and they want to know. That's why I'm asking the question. But after the trip, I mean, after those meetings, we want to know, Mr. Adesina.
Okay.
Thank you so much, indeed. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time.
It's all right.
I appreciate it.
It's all right.
Please enjoy your time.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has approved and published a final list of candidates for national elections as the presidential, senatorial, and federal constituencies, pursuant to Section 32, subsection 1 of the Electoral Act 2022 and Item 8 of the timetable and schedule of activities for the 2023 general election. The publication of the full names and addresses of all the nominated candidates follows the political parties' conduct of primaries and completion of the nomination exercise. And today in Abuja, well, some very interesting conversation ensued where former President Goodluck Jonathan warned politicians and their parties to shun any kind of violence. He's saying that Nigeria should and must exist before having the next president. He said that he's at the 2022 Peace Conference organized by Goodluck Jonathan Foundation. The former Nigerian leader called on those seeking elected positions to protect Africa's most populous nation from being destroyed. Take a listen to the former president.
Anybody who is interested in leadership at the level of a president, governor, senator, etc., you have bigger stake to protect the nation. If you know when nations are in crisis and taking over leadership from nations that are in crisis, you know what I mean. You will not think about economy, and before you know, everything will go down. We must discourage this issue of hate speech, this propaganda that is going on. Because before this time, we were always afraid of the gun as a threat to democracy. But the biggest threat to democracy now that we have is the issue of propaganda, fake news, and hate speech. And anybody that's an advocate of this, a vanguard of this, then you are a threat to democracy just like the gun.
The 2023 election is set to take place amidst nationwide insecurity. The precarious economic situation across the country has made vote buying and selling easy, especially as witnessed during the governorship elections in Ekiti and Osun states. Voter turnout is another area of concern. Just 34.75% of eligible Nigerians voted in 2019, and a similar low or lower turnout in 2023 would further undermine the credibility of the poll. It is now time for us to work together as Nigerians to consolidate the gains of the democracy and ensure that Nigeria remains a one united country.
All right, you heard those former leaders there talking about what is needed for us to have a nation first, then an election. So the former President Goodluck Jonathan is talking about propaganda, hate speech. These are dangers to our democracy and our elections. Yesterday also, this conversation also came up, the kind of conversation that should lead up to the campaigns that will start at the end of this month. Tonight, let's talk about this. I have representatives of some of the two major political parties in Nigeria. I have joining me here in our studio in Abuja, a chieftain of the APC and a supporter of Bola Tinubu campaign organization, and a lawyer, Mr. Ismail Ahmed. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
And from Asaba virtually, he's one of the spokespersons of the Atiku Okowa presidential campaign organization, Mr. Charles Aniago. He joins us virtually. Thank you so much, Mr. Aniago, for joining us tonight. Let's
Thanks
kick
for
off.
having me. Good evening, Joe.
Yeah, you heard what those leaders are saying, Mr. Ahmed. The fear about propaganda and hate speech. We're going into the campaign. These fingers are pointing to the political class, you and your friends in your party and other political parties. And these are very clear-cut danger if we're not careful. These are strong warnings for us before we get into this election. Let me get your take first and foremost.
Well, I couldn't agree more with what the leaders have said. I think propaganda, fake news, I think these are things that have been, subject of discussion around the world, globally, actually, not only in Nigeria, because I think there was a lot of Senate and House committee hearings in the United States of America with a lot of the big techs, what do you call the Facebooks, the social media big giants, in dishing out fake news or giving an avenue or platform for people to exacerbate fake news or propaganda and this. But I think it's not only the responsibility of political parties. I think it's the responsibility of every well-meaning Nigerian and a citizen of this country to take this very seriously. There are so many things that are going on, so many fake news and propaganda. I mean, technology has made it so easy for people to just churn out news and create fake accounts and send out all this kind of fake news that undermines the security of a nation, that threatens the national security and the fabric that holds us together. So I totally agree with them, and I think it's a responsibility for everyone. Political parties would have to do their part. Government will have to do its part. The candidates, when they're speaking, they would have to eschew as much as possible anything that would undermine the security of the country and the fabric that holds us together and promote peace and stability. And more importantly, like General Abdulsalami Abubakar said in what you just put up, there was voter apathy, to a large extent in the last two election cycles. With a bit of insecurity in some places, we might be fearing that as well as we go along. So these are things that we have to, pay attention to and be able to see how we can get most of our voters out, encourage them to come out and vote and exercise their civic responsibility, in choosing the next set of leaders. So I think I totally agree with that.
All right. I'll get Charles's response on this, but that's going to be after the break because we need to go on a commercial break. And when we come back, we have this conversation because if you, in your mind, have to point out culprits in propaganda and all of these things that political parties are talking about, you talk about politicians. And the biggest political parties, PDP and APC, will naturally come to mind. And that's why we're speaking to their representatives on the program tonight. Stay with me, everyone. Shaping the conversation for 2023 is what we're talking about. We'll be right back. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us on the program. The conversations ahead of 2023, the caustic nature of campaign exchanges that we see in the political climate in Nigeria gets us talking. And there are already warnings. Yesterday, today, leaders of thought are speaking about this matter. Two representatives of the major political parties, as they usually called in Nigeria, are speaking with us on the program tonight. Mr. Ismail Ahmed, a lawyer and a supporter of the Bola Tinubu campaign organization, and is of the APC, and from Asaba. Virtually, he's one of the spokespersons of the PDP presidential campaign organization, Charles Yedu Aniagu. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us. Let me come to you quickly, Charles. When they talk about conversation, how things have gone awry sometimes between political parties, how difficult it is to talk about issues, how difficult it is to engage without having to touch on personalities and the characters of people. And it touches on these two major political parties. Your party especially, you've hit out at other political parties. These are warnings to the political class. Let me get your view, just like the way I asked Ismail.
Well, thank you very much, and I'm happy you are taking up these issues. I must also appreciate our leaders who are bringing this topic to the fore once again. And it's important that every Nigerian appreciate the need for us to stay on the issues. And there are very many reasons why we have to stay on the issues. And I'm also happy that our party, particularly our presidential candidate, have clearly identified what the issues are. It is only those who don't understand what the issues are that try to bring up propaganda or try to look for how to attack individuals. We have, if you recall the last time I met with you in your studio, been able to reel out the number of issues that we needed to deal with. I listened very carefully to your interview with the spokesman of the president. You could see that he was not even able to give you the answers you needed, which of course will put some element of smile on the face of Nigerians. Those issues you have pointed out are very, very clear. The need for us to revamp our economy, the need for us to bring security back to our people, the need for us to ensure that power is devolved to the different component parts of this country, the need for us to address issues of education to the extent that today, for over 220-something days, our children are at home, and of course, the need for us to deal with the issues that have to do with our diversity, because the poor management of that diversity have brought us to where we are, leading to other symptomatic issues that have become very, very deadly and very, very disturbing. And so when you look at this number of candidates, who is that candidate that have been able to identify the issues? Atiku Abubakar is the only one who has a policy document. And when you look at this, he says, my covenant with Nigerians. He's the only one who has been able to bring out documents stating what he needed to do. And that is why we are desirous of stating and staying online in line with those policy pronouncements that the candidates have been able to put forward. We will continue to stay on that path because those are the issues that agitate the minds of Nigerians. For anybody to abandon those issues and begin to attack other fellow candidates who also have both that constitutional and democratic right to also seek for the same office, it means that that person is trying to inflict more injury on Nigerians that are already, whose life is already battered because of the abysmal performance of the government in some years past. So for us in the PDP and for our candidate, we will continue to identify the issues and not only identify these issues, but also provide solutions to these issues because talk is cheap. Others can come and tell you that the Naira is weak. We know that the Naira is weak and every Nigerian knows that the Naira is weak. That is not what we're going to be doing in the PDP. We will go beyond telling you that the Naira is weak to tell you what we are going to do to strengthen the Naira. We will not take the path of insulting other Nigerians, because number one, we recognize that it is their right to also seek for the same office that we are seeking. But beyond those who are contesting, we also recognize the right of Nigerians who are not even contesting to be told what needed to be done for their life to be better. After all, the whole purpose of government is very clearly stated in section 14, subsection 2, paragraph B of the Nigerian Constitution, which makes it very, very clear that security and the welfare of the people is the primary purpose of government. So we stay on course in
all right.
PDP.
So let me, and I'd like Ismail also to weigh in on this, because what is at stake here is the issue, fundamental. Those are primary. But also there are secondary conversations also that some of us will not run away from. And is the character and the personalities of those who wants to be the leaders of Nigeria at every strata, and not only the president, but attention is on who wants to be the #1 citizen of the country, the Nigeria's next Nigeria's president. And now the question of the health of the candidate, because nobody will hire a CEO of a company that you have invested a lot of money on if you do not have a healthy and a fit leader or CEO. Nigerians will also want to know whether or not age is on the side of anyone they will hire as a CEO. Nigerians will also want to know whether or not the track record of those who are seeking in office is fit for the role, because after all, there are requisite qualifications to run for this office, not the minimum. I'm not sure Nigerians deserve the minimum qualifications to sit in that very exalted seat of the president. Nigerians also want to know whether or not these people have integrity. But people misconstrue all of these issues as a side issue. These are fundamental issues. But will your candidate be able to answer some of these questions? Is your party able to come onto the plate and be able to answer these questions? The age, the health, the track record of your candidate, and what he brings to the table.
So far, you can testify that Atiku Abubakar is not being challenged as to his ability to be able to deal with issues that he has clearly put out in his policy document. We do know those who records are very much unknown, whether in terms of their school, in terms of their age, in terms of the state where their parents give birth to them. All those issues, I agree that Nigerians need to look at it, because if you are employing somebody to come and work, you need to be able to have certain records. Even when you are employing ordinary a driver, you want to know where he's from, what is academic qualification. The moment those issues are subject of suspicion, it means that there is something to hide. And so for us, we have not only been able to put it out, we are very much ready as a political party to showcase the identity of those who are putting forward to be able to preside over the affairs of Nigeria. And we're talking specifically Atiku Abubakar and Governor Ifeanyi Okowa of Delta State. These two individuals, their record are very well known. And at any given time, anybody calls for them, we will make it available. We will not begin to ask you to go to the court for us to be able to show you their certificates, their age, what they have done in the past, what they are going to be able to do. But you do know those who do not have those records handy. And who
are the people? Are you referring to Ismail's party? Let me allow Ismail to the same question I asked you. Ismail, your turn.
Well, I think you modeled up a lot of questions. I don't know.
I didn't. I asked him and was responding. It's your turn. So let me see the questions modeled up.
No, it's because you spoke for a long time, so I was wondering which one were the questions you were referring to. First of all, look,
do you want me to rephrase the question so that
I'm good. Let me answer.
We don't get a model.
I'm good.
Go ahead.
First of all, I don't think anyone is afraid. We are. My candidate is not afraid of records, and we are going to stay on the issues. Campaign is going to open up on the 28th of this month. We can't wait for the campaign to open up. We can't wait to hit the trail and tell Nigerians what we have done. And these are people, both of our candidates, the presidential candidate and the vice presidential candidate, these are people that have been governors for 8 years each in their states. These are states that Lagos is the beacon of light and hope in this country, one of the major economies in Africa, certainly probably the biggest in sub-Saharan Africa and West Africa, for example. And it was as a result of a blueprint that someone has laid down and has ensured that the political stability and the economic and progressive growth of that state has been shown. And this is somebody that has stayed in his state, reached out to other parts of the Southwest, created avenue for progressive leaders to emerge, leaders that we hear their names today in the political spectre of this country, and that we are proud of them wherever we go. You know, these are people that have come under his tutelage. And like I've always said, Ashwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu doesn't, we are going to come out with our policy document. We already have our policy document. When the campaign starts, we're going to bring it out because, you know, we have to wait for the law to allow us to do that. But other than that, there is a living thing, an object that you can show for what he has been able to do at the time that he was given an opportunity in his state in Lagos. You can point out exactly what Kashim Shettima has been able to do when he was governor of Borno State. You can point out to all the things that this government has been able to do with the meager resources that we have found out. Yes, we have had challenges in government. Government is a continuum. It's not no one size fit all, no one government or one administration, either in 4 years or 8 years, will tackle every problem. And we have seen some of these individuals that are in other political parties who have had opportunities as well to govern in either states or at the federal level. And we have seen what it has become. They have themselves campaigned against the very record that they supposedly put on themselves. Because I remember there is a candidate now who is running for president, who has run for president before in our political party. He ran for primaries, for example, and castigated the same government that he was part of earlier. So if he was going to run against his own record, if that's what you would call it, if there was a record, if he is going to go against his own record, it makes our job easier. No one in this country would say that Lagos is not working, or Borno, you know, Kashim Shettima did not do well, or our governors El-Rufai, or Sanwo-Olu today in Lagos, or most of the governors we have across the country that have done very well under the auspices of the APC mantra and the progressive movement. So that's what we are. We are ready for issues. We are not shying away from issues. And every genuine question you have that has to do with the character of the persona and the character of a leader, it's a valid question. It's a fair game. Bring it on. When the campaign starts, we'll give them answers, and the candidate will answer some of the questions himself. There's no two ways about it. People keep talking as if we're trying to hide. What are we going to hide by somebody that has been a senator in the 90s, a governor in 1999 to 2007, and he has been there and open for everybody to see? What are we hiding? You know, and then you keep talking about somebody is not healthy, somebody is healthy. We are a deeply religious country. I've heard you in your program so many times
ask questions about it.
Okay, fine, that's okay. Yeah. That's fine, you know, if you have any evidence.
Is it not? If
you have any evidence that any of the
questions?
No, absolutely, that's what I said.
Okay.
It's a valid question. If you have any evidence that any of the candidates is not fit to be in office, by all means, bring it on. By all means, any of the candidates is not fit to be in office, by all means bring it on.
These are critical questions because Ismail, I'm not sure you go to the hospital. I'm not sure you're going to be in the hospital to be treated by a sick doctor.
What do you mean by that?
No, I'm asking. So, I mean, you raised the issue of health, and I'm saying that it will be right thinking to find someone who is fit, not only in outlook, but in health, to be able to lead a country as much as 200 million people.
No, I said that's a valid question.
Yes,
that's
a valid question. So
but it only becomes a problem when
people... it as though it's the wrong thing to have.
No, I said it's a valid question. Once the campaign opens up, why not? What I'm talking about is when people start to suggest as if there is a candidate who is ill, who is hiding it. If you have evidence that any candidate is sick, bring it on. That's what I'm saying. Bring it on. And you're talking about the sick doctor treating patients. The person that did surgery for my daughter's leg was himself a cripple. I didn't question his expertise, and he did it, and she's working. She's fine.
Nobody. I'm not sure we have.
So what I'm saying.
I'm not sure on this program we've made a statement as to the health of your. These are questions.
I'm not talking about my candidate. I said any candidate.
Okay.
Any candidate.
So because you are speaking for your candidate.
No. I'm not.
And you're raising this issue.
Hold on. Because you keep talking
maybe
about.
Maybe it's an issue for you.
You keep talking. No, it's not an issue for me because you keep talking about there's one candidate who is not well. We have to check out whether the candidates are fit. If you have any evidence that any of the candidates, not only mine, any of the candidates is sick, bring it on. Let Nigerians know.
All right.
But as far as I'm concerned, our candidate is mentally sound, is physically fit, he is progressively minded, he has demonstrated capacity to govern a state as complex, as large, as economically boisterous as Lagos. He has helped a government come into place in 2015. He has done exceptionally well in his different fields of endeavors where he has found himself. We are proud of him we are proud to put him forward, and we are ready for anyone.
Is PDP or Labour Party a threat to your party? Your party is a ruling party.
Okay, let me say this, right? And answering this question, let me tell you this. As a politician, generally, and this is me speaking, I'm not speaking for Ashwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu right now, or the APC or the campaign organization. As Ismail Ahmed, I always believe that in a contest, in a political contest, anyone who comes up and said he's contesting against you, I automatically consider him a challenge. Not a threat, a challenge. So I do all I can to make sure that I come out on tops. And that's what APC does. APC, we are ready to go granular. We are retail politicians. We are not wholesale politicians. Yeah. We don't sit down in one place and we shout. We go granular, we go down to the game. We are mobilizers by nature. We have been in opposition for 16 years at the federal level. We understand how to mobilize people at the grassroots. That's what we're going to do. Labour Party, PDP, NNPP, you name it, anybody can come. We are not going to take them as a threat, but we are certainly going to believe they are a challenge, and we are going to make sure that we surmount those challenges.
All right, let me allow Charles to react to some of these issues.
Shehu, if you were not the one interviewing us, I would have asked you to respond to my brother in the studio, because you have lived for a very long time in Lagos. I wonder the Lagos he's talking about. Is it not the same Lagos that the governor of Erufai, a very key member of the APC, clearly stated that once you have lived in Lagos, you are a candidate of heaven because you have already suffered on earth? Is it not the same Lagos where when it rains, you cannot even move anywhere? Is it not the same Lagos where people spend as much as 5 hours for just a 30-minute journey? So when they talk about what has happened in Lagos, you begin to wonder whether they are speaking from the moon, or perhaps some of them have not been to Lagos. I was in Lagos just 4 days ago, Shehu. I don't know the Lagos they are claiming that there was so much record by their candidate. But I don't want to go into that, because for us, we have a lot of issues to talk about. There are a lot of problems affecting Nigerians that interest us, that we need to provide solution for. We are very much interested in the vehicle, which is what our party have done in the past, being the vehicle. We are very much interested in the driver and the conductor. That's our presidential candidate and his vice presidential running mate, who are the driver and the conductor of that vehicle. We're also very much interested in the passengers who are going to bring on board, Nigerians, who ordinarily for a very long time have been left under the rain. Instead of being carried along, they help push the vehicle, the driver moves, and they leave them behind. For us, we are going to be very much interested in how we are going to move with them in that vehicle and drive very, very safely. What we are going to be doing is not to dwell in what the other party did not just do. We are going to provide solution to those things that they have not done, that have added pain to Nigerians in the last 7 years. For instance, he mentioned individuals talking about the performance of PDP in the first 16 years. You recall, Shehu, that not too long ago, many Nigerians were even pleading that they should even take them back to 2015, where the bag of rice was 7,000 naira. They should take them back to 2015, where the price of petrol was 96 naira per liter. They should take them back to 2015, where the price of dollar was just 168 naira to the dollar, as against what it is today. They should take them back to 2015, where Nigerians were far, far safer. I told you the last time I came that one thing that the APC government administration have democratized is insecurity, which was restricted to a part of the Northeast when they came in. They keep preparing
just for a moment, so that we can wrap up. Let me get Ismail's final thought on the program, so we can just anchor on that. I'll come back to get yours. What's your final thought on?
My final thinking is that we are ready for issue-based campaign. We've always run on an issue-based campaign. You know, it's very funny that you find people who live in Lagos, who want to live in Lagos, who think that Lagos is the El Dorado, who leave their states, you know, of origin or their base, and they go to Lagos to find succor, you know, and economic prosperity. And there's nothing wrong with that. We're all Nigerians. We can move around to anywhere we want. But to sit down and then accuse the very people who have helped build that city into what it is, into where you want to go and seek for greener pasture, so to speak, to insult them that like because of politics, that's fine. If that's what you want to do, that's your choice. My final thought on this: we are ready for an issue-based campaign. We're not going to shy away from it. You can speak all the good English you can be suave, you can have as many spokespeople as you want to come and try to launder, an image of someone that has run against the same record that he wants to run for now or on now. You can do all that.
How easy will your party be able to, based on the record of your party for the last 7 years, how easy will it be to convince Nigerians to vote for the party?
He gave an example of all the things that have gone up. Absolutely, that is true. Things have gone up. Also has our income has considerably gone down. Yes, we would also like to be in a place where we have $100 to a barrel for straight up for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years, 7 years, 10 years, 20, 15 years, 16 years. We would love to have that kind of situation as well.
So there's a reason for the problem.
If we had that, and we would love to have an opportunity to subsidize dollar for people who could use $2.2 billion to import foreign cars whenever they want, or $5.2 billion to import champagne and Dom Perignon, and that's what they do. So if you want to do, there is a false equivalency of an argument that they are making. I'm not saying that we're in an El Dorado, but we can all hold our hands and sing Kumbaya right now where we are. We have challenges, and that's because we've had challenges with our income. But bottom line is that Ashwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Senator Kashim Shettima, and the whole bunch of the APC family were ready for an issue-based campaign. And once the curtain is lifted up, just watch and see. Thank you very much.
Let me get Charles. Thank you so much, Ismail, for your thoughts there. Let me get your own thoughts, Charles. Your final thought on the program tonight.
Shem, we are not only doing issue-based campaign. We have already identified the issues in this particular document titled "My Covenant with Nigerians." Atiku is not waiting for the campaign to start for him to identify those challenges that today affects every Nigerian. He's very much aware that the economy is not working and that Nigerians need jobs. We want to talk about it. Let me see how my brother will respond to that in the course of time. We want to talk about the fact that our children who are supposed to be in the classroom are losing the entire session 1 full year. We'll talk about it. It's an issue. We will talk about how the naira in our pocket has become weaker than the tissue paper. That is also another issue. We will also talk about how it is very, very unsafe for people to even travel 2 kilometers away from where they live, particularly even when you are living in the Federal Capital Territory. That is another issue. We will also talk about how they have been able to mismanage our diversity such that when you talk about the security architecture, you have persons from just a particular region of the country presiding and then not giving other parts of the country to be able to also contribute. We will talk about all those issues, including the fact that there are candidates that everything about them, including their businesses, is unknown. Today, as I speak to you, we can say that Atiku is the owner of American University of Nigeria in Adamawa. I will need my colleague, by the time we start the campaign, to tell me what business his man, who is very stupendously rich, what business he runs. So I am happy that he's looking forward to issue-based campaign. When that time comes, we will tell Nigerians who have been able to do business and do it right and who have certificates that can be verified.
Thank you so much, Ismail and Charles, for your time tonight. I appreciate your time. But that's how far we can go tonight, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm sure Kimbale. Bye-bye.